Hello and welcome everyone back to yet another episode of Red Cape Sports. My name is Bird Bouchard, and today is a very special day because we got the hockey card guru with us, Mike DiStefano. You guys might also know him as Al's brother from TSN Radio. You might just know him from Twitter. He's a good personality there too. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here once again.
This is going to be a rather interesting episode. Long story short, Mike and I both compiled a list of 5 players, or rather 5 young gun cards, or maybe not even young gun cards, of guys who recently just got signed, or maybe even potentially traded to new teams in the off season. It's been going absolutely wild. I think the latest one was even Taylor Hall and Alex Pietrangelo. Were 2 different guys who moved over to new teams. So we're going to jump into it. I guess I'll go first just because you went first in our latest hockey video. So if you guys haven't seen that, check it out. All right. So Matt Murray is going to be my first pick. I thought it was very interesting that he went to basically replace Craig Anderson over in Ottawa. And the reason why I like Matt Murray is not because Ottawa's a hot market, not because they're Canadian, not because anything like that, but they still stink. And I think, no, honestly, think about it. They still stink. And who won the Vezina this year? Conor Hellebuyck. And Conor Hellebuyck faced a lot of shots. And I feel like if Matt Murray can kind of benefit off, seeing a lot of shots, having a lot of high performance games, I feel like his card prices can definitely benefit. And Ottawa potentially in 3 to 5, it seems like they'll never get any better. But in the future, I can see Ottawa being a decent team, and Matt Murray is still young enough where I can see card growth in his cards. Again, they necessarily don't have to double, but they just need to grow enough for, at least in my opinion, for it to be a pretty decent investment.
What's his price point at right now?
His price point right now, that's a good question. I have not looked that up. I have not looked that up.
I think
But
last I saw, you could get a Matt Murray for around $10, and I think I'm curious to see if that's changed since the trade. For Matt Murray, my issue with investing in a guy like him is he's extremely injury prone. And when you're investing in goaltenders who are injury prone, I find it tough. You know what I mean? Because you just don't know what he's going to end up being. Goalies are voodoo as is. And when you throw in a little wrench like that, it scares me a little bit. But, he's a young goaltender who's going to be going to an up-and-coming team. So I like it in that regard. I just don't know if I'm willing to roll the dice. And you say he's going to face a lot of shots. That is true, just like Conor Hellebuyck. The difference between those two is that Conor Hellebuyck saves a lot of shots, and Matt Murray doesn't save a lot of shots. He had kind of a down year. He had a down year in Pittsburgh, but I think that could also work to an advantage because that means that his card may be a little bit cheaper than it should be. And if you can get it on the cheap right now in Ottawa, and he does have some success there, then I believe that you'll see some profits. So it has potential. But it's a high volatility type.
It's a high risk, high reward play. And again, I'm not saying it necessarily needs to even go from 10 to 20, but if it can go to even 10 to 15, and if you pick up enough of them, again, it's a decent option that, again, I'm not telling anyone to pick up, but at least to maybe be on the lookout for.
So my first one, going with Josh Anderson, and he was involved in the deal between Montreal and Columbus and signed himself a nice, fat 7-year deal to stay in Montreal. I think it was about $5.5 million per season, which means that they plan on using him, and he's going to be a big part of this team going forward. He's a big power forward who can play in the top 6, former 25 goal scorer. A lot of people were discouraged because he only had 1 goal last season through 25 games. But he was playing hurt with a separated shoulder. He had to end up getting shoulder surgery. So I think that probably plays into the reason why he wasn't productive offensively. But I think going to Montreal, getting in that top 6, that team is up and coming. The Canadians are a massive, massive market, probably the second best market next to Toronto. So, for a couple of reasons, I think that's a pretty good option there. You can get them right now for anywhere from about $10 to $15. Actually, we've seen a spike since the trade and since the signing. I'll tell you, I invested in Josh Anderson just ahead of the playoffs. I bought a lot of 15 Josh Anderson Young Guns. I'm not going to tell you what I paid for them, but I can tell you that I've sold a third of them and already doubled my money. So I still have 2/3 of my investment remaining, and I've already doubled my money. So, Josh Anderson, and that's something that could even go up, right? Like $10 to $15 for a top 6 Montreal Canadian who can put in 25 to 30 goals any given year seems like a pretty good buy. Like this seems like a card that could go up to 25, $30. And if you're getting in on the ground floor at 10, 15 and hoping for that to happen, you're going to be happy if you end up doubling, maybe tripling your money. And there's also a rumor out there that Montreal could be trading away Brendan Gallagher, who could be pushed out. And they kind of are in the same lineup, both on the play the right side. And if Gallagher does end up getting traded, which there are rumors, that just improves Anderson's role just a little bit more with the Canadians, which could allow him to get a little more offense and put up some better numbers. And how do you make money? By picking guys who score and put up numbers. So Josh Anderson, I think, is my kind of number one pick, I would say, to keep an eye on after this free agency period.
Well, man, the Hockey Card Guru does it again, because I also had highlighted very highly Josh Anderson. I'm not going to spend too much time saying on why I like him. You clearly nailed it right there. But more importantly, he's in a pretty good market, and he's a guy who finds the back of the net. So Josh Anderson was my second pick. So because I went first, the floor is yours again.
All right, and we're heading right back to Montreal. Tyler Toffoli just signed a 4-year deal with the club yesterday. It was a 4-year, $17 million, I believe, and for a lot of the same reasons. Montreal is one of the best markets out there, and you can get this card right now for about $15 to $20. And he's a top 6 player who scores goals. That's what he does. And again, if Gallagher gets pushed out, that gives him an opportunity. He'll probably play on the power play. I think Tyler Toffoli is a guy who can come in and be a really solid addition for the Montreal Canadiens. And he's somebody who I could see. Actually, I got one here. Let me show it. Because I invested in Tyler Toffoli last year a little bit. Picked up a PSA 10.
Nice.
I picked this up real cheap. I got it when he was injured in the playoffs, because I thought if he was coming back. I picked it up for $30. It's now selling for $80, and he's yet to play a game yet for Montreal. So he's seen a little bit of a spike as well so far. And if he starts putting up the points that I think he could put up as an elite goal scorer, man, I could see these Tyler Toffoli cards really starting to pick up some demand in Montreal. So there's another card that I'd be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. In general, I feel like Montreal's it's obviously a great market, but they're a young up and coming team, and I mean, obviously they were capable of knocking off Pittsburgh even. So
yeah,
watch out for them. Carey Price can steal a few games, so good pick there. All right, so I guess I'm going to drop down all the way to a former Montreal Canadian. And I know that you mentioned that you were interested in hearing this one, but I got Max Domi highlighted here. Max Domi recently went over to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I look at the Columbus Blue Jackets and I go, year in, year out, that's a gritty team who, of course, Max Domi is a very gritty player, and I feel like he just fits in so well into that lineup. I feel like from the get-go, he's going to receive top 6 forward line minutes for sure, without a doubt. And this is a guy that while his offensive production kind of dwindled the last few seasons, he's definitely capable, of being a 60-point player in the NHL. Columbus Blue Jacket, again, not a hot market, but we've seen time and time again the Columbus Blue Jackets, it seems like throughout the last few playoffs, where several cards have at least doubled in price. And right now,
Right.
Max Domi, you can find him fairly cheap. And I feel like, again, he's going to help lead the Columbus Blue Jackets to a playoff appearance. And if that happens, I feel like you can at least double down on his card. So maybe, I'm not saying by any means this guy's going to make you rich, but what I am saying is there's a definite potential to maybe even double up on his cards.
You're right. I didn't think about the playoff success that the Columbus Blue Jackets have had and the impact that it's had on the Cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pierre-Luc Dubois, he doubled in price during the playoffs.
Yep.
You saw Jonas Corposalo go from being a $2 bin card to selling for $60 after he had that amazing run in the playoffs, playing against Toronto and then again in Tampa. So certainly, I think that there is potential for a guy, although it's not the biggest market, when you're playing in the playoffs on a big stage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of eyeballs on you, and Max Domi, he's got a name, right? His dad played in the NHL for a very long time. He's already played in an original 6 top market, so yeah, Domi's got some name value to him as well. It's not a bad. But you sold me a little bit on it.
All
Sold
right.
me a little.
All right, I'll take it.
I've got a couple Domis. If you want one, let me know. Might be willing to sell
for the right price. I'm probably buying.
We'll talk after.
Sounds good.
My third guy who I've got on my list here is Tyson Berry. Yeah, this one's an interesting one. This is another one where it's kind of like your pick, your first pick, where it's got a little bit of volatility to it because it's a defenseman, and I think outside of the young up and coming defenseman, the market isn't as interested in D-men. And a guy like Tyson Berry had a pretty bad year in Toronto, like a down year for him. I think he still did end up with 40 points, which to a regular defenseman would be pretty good. But for Berry, he's expecting to see a lot more. Now he's heading to Edmonton on a 1-year prove-it deal, which leads me to believe that he's going to be looking to fill the net. And he took a discount, actually, to go to Edmonton. I had heard that there was an offer for Vancouver on a $5 million deal, and he took a $1.5 million discount because he was promised to go to Edmonton and get top power play minutes, which he wouldn't have gotten in Vancouver because they got Quinn Hughes. But he goes to Edmonton. He's going to put up points on that number 1 power play unit. He's going to be passing the puck up to Connor McDavid, and he's just going to be collecting assists left, right, and center, just like he did in Colorado when he was passing the puck up to McKinnon, and he did his thing. He's going to do the exact same here with Draisaitl and McDavid. So he's going to put up points, and Edmonton's a pretty good market too. So I think that Tyson Berry, right now, you can probably get his card anywhere from $10 to $15, and you could see that grow as long as he rebounds and has a pretty good season in Edmonton.
Listen, had he gone to almost any other team other than Edmonton, I would have probably not agreed with that pick. But you just explained exactly why Tyson Berry is more than investable right now. Power play, power play, Edmonton, pass the puck to either McDavid, pass it to, another guy who they just call Leon Draisaitl, and you're going to pick up points. So certainly that's a pretty good pick right there. And I'm going to go with another guy who Edmonton just signed, Kyle Turris. Now I know Kyle Turris isn't going to turn many heads, but again, on Edmonton. And I feel like Edmonton is finally going to kind of take the medical, the monkey off their back, so to speak. And I feel like Edmonton's finally going to see a deeper playoff run. And again, this is another very, very, very affordable card that I can see potential growth even throughout the regular season, not just saying that it has to become playoffs. But Kyle Turris he's a guy capable of putting the puck in the net a decent amount. And like I said, Edmonton, they love their hockey, and more specifically though, and again, while I'm not banking on it, they love their playoff heroes. Time and time again, we see it, whether it be Nugent Hopkins or whoever it is.
Fernando Pisani.
Exactly. And I'm not even saying that you need to hold on the cards long, because at one point Neil Yakupov would have been a decent investment. I'm not saying go buy Neil Yakupov by any means.
Do not buy Neil Yakupov. Do not. If you do, I do have a rookie auto that I'd be willing to sell, and reach out to me.
But yeah, in all seriousness, it's just the market and the fact that it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does get. He's certainly not going to get top line minutes, but if he does get second or third, I feel like for the prices that you can pick up his cards now, you can definitely make a profit.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because the next man up on my list is Kyle Turris.
Boom. Let's go.
Like this is a card that you can pick up right now for $5, and it's definitely worth the investment, worth the roll of the dice, because if he can pick it up, right? He's a former top 5 pick in the NHL. He is a former top 6 centerman in the NHL back when he played with the Ottawa Senators. Heck, he was their number 1 center when they made the run to the conference finals. So I think that Kyle Turris, he's kind of was in a bad spot, buried in the lineup a little bit in Nashville. But if he comes to Edmonton and he gets the opportunity to work with a McDavid, a Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins, I can see him picking his game up. I could see him getting some power play time. Probably not on the top power play, but PP2 for sure. And, we'll see where he ends up slotting into the lineup. But I think that he's also a pretty good investment.
All right. Do you have a 5th pick or?
I do.
All right.
This one, I cheated.
Oh, no.
I cheated. This is not a player who was picked up in free agency. This is a player who I believe will benefit from a free agency pickup.
Okay.
So I cheated,
All
but you'll like it. My man, Jack Eichel.
Ooh, that's a stretch for this video. I like the pick. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm sure the Hockey Card Guru is going to talk me through this.
How is it a stretch? First of all, you can pick this card up right now for $70. And alone, $7 is a good investment for Jack Eichel. I think that he's the top,
for sure.
He's a top 15 player in the league, a top 5 center in the league. The fact that you can get him for $70 right now, just because that team hasn't had any success whatsoever, is criminal. Like I've picked one up for as low as $50 if you can find them at shows, and that's a really low price for a guy like Jack Eichel. It really is. And yeah, Buffalo's a bit of a soft market, but like I said, a big reason for me putting him in this video is because of the free agent that they just signed, Taylor Hall. Signed a 1-year, $8 million deal. And for the same reason that I believe Tyson Berry is going to have a big season because he signed a prove-it 1-year deal, Taylor Hall, a 1-year prove-it deal. You put him alongside Jack Eichel, these guys are going to rack up points, man. Let me tell you, they are going to score at will. I think that they've now put themselves into a playoff conversation. Dahlin's a year older, Reinhardt's a year older, Olofsson's a year older. They've got some other pieces that they're working with. They brought in Eric Stahl. I like what they're doing out in Buffalo, and I think that this is a team that has a chance to make the playoffs this year. And Jack Eichel's card, if they make the playoffs and he potentially puts himself in MVP territory, which he's played like an MVP the last couple of seasons, like without Eichel, that team is probably just as bad as Detroit. And the addition of Taylor Hall, a 40-goal scorer, is just going to elevate his game. And that, $60, $70 card is now going to be well worth $100, I believe. By this time next year, we will see it at least at $100, guaranteed. That's some decent profit. So I think Jack Eichel is a guy who you should be keeping an eye on because of the addition of Taylor Hall.
Listen, and I think for months now, it seems like back in March, we were both hyping up Jack Eichel. And we were both hyping it up, and now more so than ever. Literally the only reason why I did not pick him is because I was under the understanding that these guys had to have been on a different team. And there's still a possibility for Eichel to be shipped out.
No, there's not.
Maybe in the future. We'll see.
I'm willing to give you 10,000 to 1 odds that he's not traded this summer.
But you're right. With the signing of Taylor Hall, he's likely not gone. And again, I was just saying I was under the assumption that they did have to be on a different team. But
Like I said, I
I love
cheated,
it.
man.
I
I
love
cheated.
the pick. I love the pick. And honestly, even today, I have no idea why this guy's card isn't already $100. Even today,
I know. I know.
it's criminally undervalued. So you know what? I, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna applaud cheating. Good pick. Um,
You'll allow it. You'll allow it.
I will allow it.
Here's the thing.
100%.
Here's the reason why I needed to put this in this video. I don't know when the next time we're going to end up doing a video is, and we need the listeners to know that Jack Eichel is an amazing investment.
Hmm.
And that investment just got even better with the addition of Taylor Hall. So it had to do loosely with free agency
That's
and
fine.
what's changing. So that's why, it is cheating and it's bending the rules a little bit. But I did it for the people of Red Cape Sports,
For
because
the
they need to get
people.
in on this Eichel train.
There you guys go. Mike DiStefano, man of the people, man for the people. My fifth option is going to be a guy who's going to your Vancouver Canucks. And I know that this was a bit interesting, Braden Holtby. And I know that back and forth we were kind of even debating Braden Holtby. Is he nearly as good as I thought he was? And I'll give it to you. Maybe he's not. But Braden Holtby, and I get it. Before you even had the chance to say it, he's no longer a Vezina type goalie. But I think Braden Holtby is still good enough to win 25 games. I really do, especially on a team like Vancouver, which again is a Canadian city. I do not believe that they're going to win a cup with a guy like Braden Holtby, but certainly we saw what a guy like Thatcher Demko and his prices were able to do. And realistically, when you're a goalie in this goalie market right now, you can pick up Braden Holtby's raw young gun card for around $35. And honestly, I don't see why that can't hit $55 again. I really don't. Braden Holtby still got a bit of good hockey left in him. And I'm not saying that you need to truly believe that. But what I am telling you is just watch. Braden Holtby is going to turn some heads this season in Vancouver. Just watch it happen, Mike.
I think he could play well in Vancouver. It's not that he's not going to play well, and he could very well win a lot of games. The issue is, I believe Vancouver is going into this season with a timeshare. You're going to have a 1A, 1B scenario. So to see a card that right now is going for about $30 to $35, to see it, potentially double in price or go up to 50, I don't know if I see that happening based on a timeshare and a guy who's on the wrong side of 30. He's been in a decline for the last couple of seasons. And at the end of the day, is Braden Holtby even a Hall of Fame goaltender? I'm not sure. So if you're making the
It's an interesting
investment,
debate.
right? And if you're making the investment saying, well, even if he doesn't go up now, eventually, if he gets into the Hall of Fame, it'll go up. Not too sure that happens, right? Like, he only had a stretch of like 3 or 4 years where he was a
Mm-hmm.
top elite goaltender. So, he's on the cusp, but it's not a sure bet. So when it comes to investing in a guy, I don't know if there's as high, it's another high volatility pick. And goalies are always high volatility picks anyways,
Just about
just
to say.
because.
That does round out my top five. And again, I was kind of going for guys who are joining new teams. Certainly, there's
I
several
cheated.
guys
So
joining new
what do
teams.
I know?
You cheated for the people and for all the right reasons, because that's exactly what we want to do here at Red Cape Sports. We want, that's exactly it. We want our viewers to be able to identify, whether it be new players, older players, just we want them to identify good investment opportunities. And again, we're not telling anyone, but uh, any way, shape, or form that they need to go out and purchase these cards. We're just saying, hey, you know what? Do your research. Might be well worth it.